Hi, this is episode 11 of Data Product Mindset. I'm Anthony Cosgrove, the co-founder of Harbour. Harbour is a private data marketplace platform for governing the discovery, access, and use of data products. Today, I'm joined by Liz Henderson, data queen, an executive advisor and speaker. Liz helps organizations unlock the power of their data by making it relatable. Liz, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Anthony. Great to be here.
Cool. So, you've got this very broad sort of portfolio of work. Why don't we start by you just telling us a bit more about what you're up to?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, you're right. I do a broad array of different things. So, let me just share a few of those. My main role is a strategic advisor, helping organizations unlock the power of their data using digital and AI. That's my full-time job, working with FTSE 100, Fortune 500, global organizations. Really love that. But alongside that, I get the excitement as well from I'm a non-exec director for a consultancy for the legal service. Never knew that existed, but really enjoy working with that company. And they're a global company as well, but a small one. I've become a business mentor for a company that provides clothes to women who breastfeed, who knew they needed a certain type of clothing, but that's really good fun. And I've also just started supporting the social housing sector with education on digital data and AI.
Amazing. Good stuff. So, on this podcast, we're often obviously talking about data products and data product mindset. You and I kind of met and had a bunch of what I thought were like super interesting conversations. Like if we just dwell on data products for a little minute, just to kind of get a sense of kind of how you relate to those and interact with them. Like when people were talking about data products, which is quite a hot topic at the moment, like how do you think about data products? Like what's your response to everything that's happening there?
I like the fact that we've moved on to data products because I think this comes out of data mesh, which is another one of the data hype things. We have lots of hype around data. You never know what's coming along next.
We love our hype cycles for sure.
We certainly do. And they smash into us. Oh, what's this? What do I need to do now?
Indeed.
And data mesh was one of those. But I
Yeah.
think the challenge was most companies thought data mesh technical, and it's really not. It was all about organizational, the way the organization manages its data and owns it. And I think when we've found that complexity in data mesh has now settled as data products, which is great. We're getting some value out of the approach that data mesh had by using data products, which is a little bit more, I don't want to say easy to understand because I don't want to disrespect anybody, but I think it's more manageable. So the organization can think, okay, what data do we need? Why do we need it? What format do we need it? Who needs it?
Yeah.
What are they going to do with it? And when do they need it? Do they need it updating, refreshing? The example I was using is in utilities because it's pretty close to our what we all like to moan about, prices for electricity and gas. If you had your utilities organisation saying, okay, we've got a great offer, but we don't want to offer it to everybody. We just want to offer it to a subset of customers. So we need some customer data. We need to understand which of our customers are coming towards the end of their contract. So we need some contract data. Who's not in arrears? Because we don't want to offer a great deal to those people that are already in arrears. So then you can either have one data product with all that data in,
Yep.
or 3 data products that your analytics team can put together to get that information to then communicate to these subset of customers. What you don't want is giving everybody all the data. There you go, free for all. And that would just be, a bit of a mess. So if we can really understand and pin down what do we want the data product to do, why do we want to do it, where's the value, and who takes the ownership, I think that's really successful.
Awesome. And when we were chatting, I think you kind of brought out that parallel between what happens with data and what historically happened with digital transformation, and then now also looking forward to what's currently happening with AI. Sort of reading one of your blog posts over the weekend where you were talking about the lessons learned from the past and how we apply them today and in the future. Could you just share a bit more about that? Because I thought that was a really interesting kind of idea.
Yeah, like you say, I published that recently. I can't remember the exact title. It was Learning Lessons from the Past, because we've got really short memories. I've had, yeah, I've had people that are budget holders say, why will it be different this time? We've invested time, money, effort. We didn't achieve the results from the original business case that we put forward before on digital. Why will we do it now? What's going to be different? And whether you're still doing digital or whether you're doing AI and digital, AI is actually a subset of digital, which people often don't realize. What went wrong last time? What didn't you deliver? I've worked with big organizations and they've set up amazing teams. They've had metrics in their business case, and then you come to review it with them. Oh yeah, we never bothered reviewing those metrics. We never measured anything. Once it went live, that was it. We kind of shut the door. And now they're having to go and invest money on how do we ensure this team is now delivering value? And it's just kind of, to me, it's so simple. And I know that sounds really silly. If you put metrics in the business case, measure them. We're data, we're analytics. It couldn't be more aligned to what we do. It just sits really well, and it just makes so much sense. I just don't understand why people don't do metrics.
Okay, so one of the big lessons there is kind of tracking what matters, and then measuring yourself against progress against those on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, and the other things are strategically looking at it.
Okay.
Why do you want to go down this path? Oh, we want to do digital. We want to do AI. Why? There's a great cartoon out there about a boat. The boat is named AI, and this guy said to his mate on the boat, how did you get this boat signed off? How did you get the board to sign off the money to buy this boat? Oh, I just called it an AI project. And they just signed it off blindly. And that's what's happening. And if we don't understand where the value is coming from when we sign off these projects, we're never going to deliver it. And we're never going to learn from the past. It's all the culture. How long did it take to embed digital years ago? Some companies are still embedding it. You can't do AI overnight. You can't do data products overnight and expect it to happen. You need to take time. You need to bring people along on your journey. So there's lots of things about people, culture, process, technology, why, values, metrics, lots and lots there that we need to really consider when we're doing things.
Got it. And I think, we've had similar people say similar things on the podcast and in various conversations I've had. And there's this sort of relentless, almost mantra amongst certainly data product people and I guess potentially others in the space around like focus on the value, focus on the use case, understand the why, that being the most important foundation before you then go and choose a technology, implement a team, hire people, establish processes, all of those good things. How do you, what do you think are the key things that people should focus on when they're trying to find the why? Because I think sometimes, particularly for technical people, that actually might be quite elusive, especially if there's a gap between them and kind of the business, being a separate group of teams or departments who are off doing other things.
Yeah, I often use the 5 whys because you'll talk to a tech team, which is mostly the people that push these things. Mm-hmm. And they'll say, we want to buy X. Okay, great, nice system. Why? Because it's cheap. Okay, why? Just because it's cheap, how's it going to help you with your business? How's it going to deliver your opportunities, help you on your strategic direction? And start asking those questions and drilling down. Did the business know about it? Or the business supporting it? Where's the value? Who's going to get the value? Is it internal and systems efficiency? Or is it your customers? How are your customers going to get that value? Okay, now we've determined how the customers will get the value. Is this still the right system to use? And it's just really drilling down. And I've worked with one organization and they said to me they want to buy X. And I said, why? Well, the business use it now. They use it a lot. So that's why we're replacing it. Okay. And I just couldn't get them to go any further down the why route. So I just okay, fine. We'll just go with that then.
Right. So just a lot of questioning why, digging into, has that been discovered? Can we draw it out through a conversation, through some more work, and ultimately get to the point where we understand the value prop and then from there kind of build back up?
Absolutely. Because even if if the people use it today really well, doesn't necessarily mean it's the right system for tomorrow's use. Mm-hmm. Again, going back to the hype world, the operating model that you have today is not going to help you be successful tomorrow.
Interesting. And kind of we've touched on, I think already touched on quite a few of these, but whether it's in data products now, AI in the future, or digital transformation in the past, what have you seen as the critical lessons learned? Like whether that's for you or lessons that you've seen other people learn that have been really kind of fundamental in helping them be successful and overcome some of these challenges or avoid wrong turns?
Step one, the why. Define your why. But then the business ownership. Okay. Data products is all around the business and the business being owned by the data, them taking accountable for it. It scares the living daylights out of the business people because, oh my God, data, it's technology, we don't understand it. And they just run a mile. I mean, I'm making great assumptions there, but majority of them feel uncomfortable about it. So help them, support them, provide them with some training. Data wasn't around, well, it was around, but it wasn't used as widely when some people started work. So why do we assume that they know how to take care of data? We need to support them with that. One organisation I worked with, and they had a bit of a tech business friction, to say the least. The tech team would go ahead, buy the technology, chuck it over the fence to the business team and say, you need to do this.
Right.
Okay, do what? Write all the rules. Okay, how do we write all those? Why do we need to write? The tech team were just not talking to the business and they were just falling out. And it just doesn't work when companies are like that. They need to work together in partnership to get the success of the organisation. So it's about building that collaborated direction they're going in for the best part of the organisation.
And have you seen, I mean, I've heard kind of people arranging themselves in different ways. So I think, some of the models I've seen are, data product manager almost being a person in the middle who sort of works between them, gathers them, manages them, kind of moves things forward. I've seen people take on more of an agile framework where they're kind of bringing multifunctional teams together. They're doing sort of MVP development, lots of show and tell, lots of feedback and change of direction as they go through and learn more on that journey. Have you got which ones have you seen? Is there like a preferred version, or is it just do whichever one works for you and just try a couple out?
I think it is the latter. It's what works for you. You know the pace of change. You know the expertise you've got in the organisation. You know the maturity of the people. Yeah. Are you a tech-focused organisation or are you a business-focused organisation? Let's bring them together, a bit of both. Yeah. And maybe somebody sits in the middle, like as a translator, I often call it, or a business partner that communicates with the tech and the business. And maybe they are the product owner and they help both parties move forward better.
Got it. And do you see, I mean, with this sort of advent of talking about data products, and, we've definitely seen this really big rise in data product management, data product manager roles. You could argue that a lot of it isn't really that different from, sort of slightly older school. And I can say this because it was, absolutely clear during my early career, project managers often had a similar role, albeit they'd be focused on delivering a project rather than an ongoing sort of service, so maybe slightly different. But a lot of what happened, I think, in digital transformation, a lot of what's happening now in data, and potentially what will and start to happen in AI is this concept of product management. It's not wildly different just because it has AI or data or digital associated with it. But what are your thoughts on that? Is this just sort of Emperor's New Clothes? Are there like meaningful differences? Is that good or bad? Does it matter?
Emperor's New Clothes is a good one because that's the thing with data. Although this hype keeps coming along, it's actually just the same regurgitated. If you take data mesh, it's just how the internet works. We've used the internet for I don't know how many years now. That's just a data mesh. Right. So nothing is really new. So data products, we've had those since we had the days of the data warehouse. We allowed people to access certain elements of data for what they were doing. They had certain levels of access. We're not recreating the wheel. We're just evolving it.
Okay, so effectively a new incarnation of something that was previously there, and just starting to move it forward and hopefully improve it slightly as we go.
Yeah, now we've got hopefully better systems that can do things even quicker than what we had years ago. We've got better understanding of data quality and why the data quality is important. We've got new rules, new regulations, making sure privacy is there. There's lots of things to take into account that 20 years ago wouldn't be there, but we still had a data warehouse.
Yeah, cool. Love that. And in terms of like where things are heading, so obviously we've spoken a little bit about AI, and this doesn't need to be all about AI, or boats called AI. Like where do you see things kind of moving? Like where are they heading? And like I guess you're in kind of a privileged position as well, because you are talking to boards. You're listening to their concerns about the future. How does data products, all the things around those, like where do you see that heading? Like what's the future look like?
Boards need a little bit more education on understanding what's going on with data, AI, and digital. Data products definitely here to stay. They are successful. They just need managing effectively. But what I'm currently looking at the moment is what's happening next year, and experts are predicting by mid-25, 50% of the data management activities which relate to data products are going to be done by AI agents. And we need to understand how that's going to happen, because if you've got your data team reducing their workload by 50%, just think how much extra work they can do, which develops value, outcomes, actionable insights, more success for the organisation, and better morale and education for everybody in the business. So I can only see it being more positive, but we've got to accept that and move forward with the right education.
And do you think that will happen in terms of that extra capacity that's hopefully freed up by kind of leveraging AI being repurposed and reused for other activities such as, classic product management, stakeholder engagement, education, maybe cultural change? Do you think that will happen, or will there be just more technology to engage with, or actually the AIs do the work, but now we need some additional frameworks and additional technology to manage the agents? So like, do you feel hopeful?
Yeah. I'd like to feel hopeful. I think the problem is nobody cares about data, and nobody will care. We all thought back in GDPR days, it's the world of data now, everybody will care about it. They didn't. Right. And I saw a chat on LinkedIn today about a job advert that had gone out. It was basically for a data platform engineer, but it had head of data and analytics. But there's nothing in there about leadership, strategic direction. And if you're going to focus on the tech, this won't happen. But if you do have true data leadership who takes that strategic direction and that vision for the future, then it will happen. So it's all down to the senior leadership at the end of the day. What do they want their organisation to do?
And I mean, we're almost out of time, but that just sort of prompted another question in my mind. So with that idea of, it's down to the senior leadership and the business leadership, I think, by extension, how do you see that? Like, how does that happen? Is that literally just there's an enlightened board, a series of good senior leaders who know enough about data, understand the importance of data, that they can kind of pull those things together? Or is it about people in technology or in data teams, really kind of dragging it into the business and helping it to land with the people that can sponsor it, make it really kind of integrate into business processes and drive change? Like, who drives it, or is it both of them? Like, what do you tend to see?
I think it's lots of different things. I think CFOs will take the lead on the data agenda because they want to drive value, become chief value officers. Data is important to finance. It's probably the most important area of the business where data is important to them. The CEO needs to understand. Mm-hmm. You can't just rely, and this is going to upset CTOs, you can't just rely on the CTO to manage the data. They're about technology and cost savings. Data is about driving value, investment, but being cost neutral or actually generating value. Mm. So please don't let your CTO manage your data. It works in some occasions, but less so in others. And have somebody on the board that really understands data, has got that experience, who's not the technical person, but is actually the value driving leadership, visionary data expert. And I think if you've got that top down and it filters down to the organisation, supporting the culture, supporting the change, I think you can do this.
And the point around the CFO, you're not the first person to say that, but we don't hear that as often as other points. Could you just elaborate on that a little bit? Because I think this is like maybe a bit of a dark horse in terms of a topic, but I think it's a really interesting one. Sort of, how does the CFO play that role? What would that look like, and why?
I worked for a CFO, reporting to them a couple of years back, and he was really interested, really wanted to know more about data. And I presented earlier on this year. Yeah, we're still in 24. I feel like we're in 25 already. Yeah.
And you might have given away how far in advance to record this, but that's okay.
We can cut that bit out. Yeah, it was middle of the year in the summer. I spoke to 140 CFOs, and I was helping them understand talent, technology, data, and AI will help them drive value. What can we give them to help them understand those different areas without them feeling out of the depth? How can we support them? How can we upskill them and make them feel comfortable? Because like I say, a finance officer really needs to rely on the data, not only for reporting, but you've got regulatory requirements as well. And they can really help the organisation focus on that, because a CFO has got that insight for the wider organisation. You can look at budgets and support where data's needed in different areas and where the money's needed to be invested to get the data right.
Awesome. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I could have let that run for at least another hour. Liz, thank you so much for coming on and sharing. That's been fantastic. For anyone listening, go and connect with Liz on LinkedIn. She posts regularly about getting value from data, from digital, from AI. The lessons learned piece very recently was super interesting as well. And if you're looking for a private data marketplace, check out harbordata.com. And if you go there, you'll find all of the previous episodes of the podcast. Thank you very much for watching.